Two-time Oscar winner Jodie Foster has a death wish. I'm Richard Roeper. Joining me again this week is Robert Wolanski from The Village Voice. Welcome back, sir.
As always, an utter delight. Thanks for having me.
All right, first up is Neil Jordan's The Brave One, sure to be one of the most controversial movies of the year. I think it's also one of the best. With Panic Room and Flight Plan and now this movie, Jodie Foster has somehow become the best accidental action hero of the 21st century. Once again, she plays a smart, ordinary woman thrust into violent situations. Foster delivers yet another award-worthy performance as Erica Bain. She's the host of a public radio show called Street Walk. Naveen Andrews from Lost is her fiancé.
Look, I haven't got much money. You can have whatever I've got. Give me your watch. Let's go over here.
When that encounter turns tragic, Erica undergoes a startling transformation from skittish post-traumatic victim to crusading vigilante. The Brave One becomes a postmodern version of Death Wish.
This is too easy, man.
Terrence Howard gives one of his best performances as a New York City detective investigating a series of vigilante crimes. He becomes friends with Erica.
Turns out there was a woman on the car. Now, all this time we've been looking for a man with a gun. It was a woman with a grudge.
Well, I guess there's a lot of us out there.
Now, in addition to Death Wish, The Brave One has the same basic premise as the Kevin Bacon movie Death Sentence, but it's an infinitely better movie. This is not just some revenge fantasy with the bad guys getting their just due. I think The Brave One could have been even a better film with a different ending, but it's still a well-crafted and thought-provoking story with outstanding performances. I liked it a lot, Robert.
I'm pretty sure that Neil Jordan made this movie because he has a boat to pay off.
What?
I gotta ask you. I need you to defend this movie to me a little bit better than you just have.
I did a great job of explaining why it's good, but tell me your problems and I'll tell you my problems with what you have to say about it.
5 seconds after she gets out of the hospital from a savage attack, she is immediately confronted in an incredibly hostile situation that happens again and again and again, to the point where a colleague and I sat next to each other in that screening and said to each other, this is all a dream sequence, right? Because there's no way in hell this actually happens to this character without being some sort of metaphor. That doesn't work by the longest of long shots.
First of all, it's not accurate to say 5 seconds afterward because she goes,
8 seconds,
she goes through a recovery process. She tries to get back to work. She tries to resume a normal life. She's suffering from post-traumatic stress. Yes, then she gets into a situation after a lot of things happen, a violent situation. Guess what?
And another one. And another one.
Well,
and
no. See, Robert, here's the thing. The first
She's
one,
Bernie Getz as a superhero.
No. The first one, yes. It just so happens that she's in a situation that turns violent. The rest of them, she puts herself in those situations.
No, she doesn't. The one on the subway, she does not.
Oh, come on. She absolutely
does. She invites those guys on the subway to start holding up the kids for the iPod.
She could extricate herself from that situation. She chooses not to. She exacerbates the situation. She wants it to turn violent. And from that point forward, she's not just randomly happening upon these circumstances. She's creating them because she wants to.
She's wandering the streets looking for them.
Yeah, exactly right.
But she has no trouble finding them. Apparently in New York City, on every street corner, someone is getting attacked, raped, or robbed.
I think that you could probably find violent situations or potential crime situations in any big city on any given night. And Neil Jordan handles all of this in a way that has you thinking, are we supposed to be rooting for her, or are we supposed to be appalled by it? The Terrence Howard character is interesting.
No, he's not. He's ridiculous.
No, he's not ridiculous. He's a guy going through his own
you talk about it would be better with a better ending?
I did say
that ending is insanity. It makes no sense. It's incredibly ludicrous, and it belongs in an even worse movie like Death Sentence.
You're reducing this film to something like Death Sentence when that's not the case at all.
Yes, it is.
I urge people to see it for themselves and start their own discussions and not dismiss it like you and your snickering friend in the screening room did.
I'm about to become,
I guess we disagree on this
become a film vigilante. Next up is actor Ethan Hawke's second outing as director, The Hottest State, which is based on his semi-autobiographical novel of the same name. And if any of that just got you excited, well, all I can say is I actually don't believe you. The Hottest State is also Hawke's home state, Texas, where William Harding, played by Mark Webber, was born. Only the movie is actually set in New York City, where William is a brooding wannabe actor awaiting his first big role while trying to figure out the vagaries of love.
So you desperately want to kiss me passionately and I'll come back to life. kiss you passionately.
Tragedy narrowly averted.
That's Maria Full of Grace's Catalina Sandino Moreno as Sarah. For a while, Sarah reciprocates William's affections, but after a sweaty sojourn to Mexico, she goes from fiery to frosty, and William complains to his ma, played by Laura Linney in a cameo, that he just don't know nothing about women's.
Why do you think she doesn't like me?
Who? What, that girl? Because there's something wrong with her.
No, Mom. There's something wrong with me. What do you think it is?
You respect people more when they don't respect you. That, and you didn't go to college. Those are your only two flaws.
As much as I like Hawke as an actor in such films as Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, and Training Day, as a filmmaker and as a novelist, he is in desperate need of an editor who can break him of his desire to romanticize narcissism. Actually, I could use the same thing as well. If this is how Hawke sees himself, broken, needy, and desperate, what makes him think we want to spend 2 hours with his alter ego? Hawke thinks The Hottest State is like a Richard Linklater movie. In fact, the filmmaker actually makes a cameo. But it just left me feeling dazed and very confused.
Well, this is one of those films I'm going to recommend.
Oh, come on, you are
Even
nice.
as I realize 5 years from now, I might think, watching it on cable, why did I recommend this film? There's
That's how
just
you're gonna feel
enough
about
for
the
me
Brave
here,
One.
Robert. First of all, Ethan Hawke, although it's a small role, is so good as this
can you
guy's
tell?
dad. And that's a particularly effective scene. And I agree that this young guy is whiny and borderline stalkerish, and she's probably
Uninteresting.
better off without him. But I think that captures a certain type of love when people are maybe 20, 21 years old and they think that they've discovered love for the first time, that nobody knows what it's really all about, and that they'll never get over it. And I think it gets that right, even though that's not always something that you want to spend. Well, it is interesting. It's not necessarily pleasant, and you want to shout to her, yeah, get a deadbolt, keep him away from you. But I think it gets that just right.
You know, I kind of like the book a little bit better than the movie, which is not saying a whole lot. In fact, my wife actually thinks the book is very, very good.
I agree with your wife.
But what
I
I
like the
think
book as well.
What I like about the book is the fact that it's sort of more self-contained. They go to Paris, in fact, and not Mexico, which is also more interesting. And that Ethan Hawke scene is just a phone call. If they had left some of those kind of things in the film, I think it might have been a better movie. But as it is, it just feels so navel-gazing that I'll just stare at my own belly button and not Ethan Hawke.
You know what? That it is. It's a small film. It's a mild recommendation, but I still think it's worth checking out.
Well, you also think The Brave One's worth checking out.
Yes, I'm 2 for 2.
Later in the show, In the Valley of Elah with Tommy Lee Jones and Charlize Theron. But next, Billy Bob Thornton is Mr. Woodcock.
You're going down, Woodcock. You must like getting spanked, Farley. I guess it runs in the family.
Mr. Woodcock is a dreary and depressing alleged comedy that takes a talented cast and a promising germ of an idea and kills it dead. Billy Bob Thornton plays the title character. He's a sadistic grade school gym teacher. Thornton has played variations on this role in School for Scoundrels and The Bad News Bears, only the toupee changes.
But in the hands of someone properly trained in its use and skilled in its art, this ball can do great things. Oates, I can hear you wheezing from here. Take a lap. Lose the asthma.
Sean William Scott, who probably hates it when people call him the guy that played Stifler on the American Pie movies, and oops, I just did that, plays John Farley. He's now all grown up, and he's the author of a best-selling self-help book.
Well, it teaches people how to release painful memories so they can rebuild their self-esteem. It's called Letting Go, How to Get Past Your Past.
I'm already past my past. That's why it's called my past.
Well, some people find my book helpful.
A lot of losers out there, I guess.
Susan Sarandon cashes a paycheck playing John's widowed mother, who for some reason falls for Mr. Woodcock, much to her son's horror.
Mr. Woodcock. Well, it looks like I'm going to be your new dad.
We see too many scenes of this gym teacher abusing children and acting like a creep to believe he's anything but a lout and a loser. John is a petulant, immature jerk, and we don't believe he could write a national bestseller. Now, Mom seems sweet, but also something of an idiot. In the meantime, Amy Poehler tries to wring some laughs from a character that would seem too cartoonish for an SNL skit, so we're left with a creepy, muddled mess.
You know, I don't know what happened to Billy Bob Thornton, but ever since Bad Santa, this is the only role he seems to be playing. This feels like this has been sitting around the shelf forever, and I'm pretty sure it has, because they probably wanted to distance it from School for Scoundrels and from The Bad News Bears, which were two very, very lesser versions of what he'd done in Bad Santa. Bad Santa is brilliant. I think that classifies as one of the great comedies of the last 10 years. I just wish he'd stop making the same damn movie over and over again.
Got a much better movie to talk about in a second. In fact, coming up next, Tommy Lee Jones and Charlize Theron investigate a murder in the Valley of Elah. But first, here's another classic review from AtTheMoviesTV.com.
I wish I could run through all the different types of wushu, the bare hands, the long... I got lost, but...
Actually, I want you to, if you can.
All right.
Let's get
There's a long tongue. Let me just say this. After the movie, I went out for a Chinese...
What is your return policy? Get out.
Looking at movies now in theaters, we cannot believe how bad The Brother Solomon is. You're just going to have to trust us on this. We disagreed on Shoot 'Em Up. Robert loved it. Me, not so much.
You're lost.
Yeah, well, maybe so. But also opening this week is a film we both liked quite a bit, Eastern Promises, with Viggo Mortensen and Naomi Watts.
We liked it, but we wanted to love it. It's a movie that keeps you at a distance. It shouldn't really do that.
But it's a good film.
It is a good movie. I wish I could say the same about our next movie. It's the latest from Crash's auteur Paul Haggis, and it's a post-traumatic, stressed-out story called In the Valley of Elah. Tommy Lee Jones and Susan Sarandon are parents of a soldier who has just returned from Iraq, only to go MIA almost immediately. Jones, a former Army MP himself, heads out west to find out for himself what the Army doesn't know or won't tell. And along the way, he runs into a civilian cop played by Charlize Theron, who can't be bothered to interfere in the military's business.
No, Army has jurisdiction over its own personnel. I'm sorry, I hope you find your son.
Hey, I don't know what you think your job is, but if it's anything like mine was, it's to roll up drunks, twiddle your thumbs, not ask too many questions. But my son has spent the last 18 months bringing democracy to a hole and serving his country. He deserves better than this.
In the Valley of Elah tries to have it both ways, as the tale of parents grieving a loss and as a police procedural. It works best as the former, as evidenced by this scene in which Sarandon breaks down while blaming her husband for taking both her soldiering sons from her.
Mike was the one who wanted to join. I sure as hell didn't encourage it.
Living in this house, he never could have felt like a man if he hadn't gone. Both of my boys, Hank, you could have left me one.
On the subject of warriors just back from the war, however, Haggis offers no new insight. Turns out, soldiers fresh from the battlefield prefer being on the battlefield, no matter how much they claim they miss home sweet home.
I couldn't wait to get out. After 2 weeks here, all I want to do is go back.
In the Valley of Elah is neither insightful nor interesting. And I know people will find it profound and moving, especially because of the great performances from Jones and Theron, but it's actually just plotting and heavy-handed. An artsy-fartsy excursion into the minefields of what appears to be a never-ending war, but is just a never-ending movie.
Well, Robert, you can count me among those who found it profound and moving. I thought it was, you know what, I'll tell you what, first of all, as you mentioned, those two actors right there, just amazing work between Tommy Lee Jones and Charlize Theron. The scenes they have, so many scenes that they do have are so good. And yes, we've known since the best years of our lives, we've seen cinematic depictions of what it's like for soldiers coming home. It's a topic worth re-examining from different angles, and I think we're doing that here. I will say this, and I don't want to give anything away, I didn't like the ending. I thought that was a moment when it was heavy-handed, but so much before that is so well done and so smart and so sad and has so much to say about what's going on in this world right now.
But what do you think the movie offers new to the insight of soldiers coming home from war? Because it actually sort of dances around that subject for a very long period of time, to the point where it actually is distracting this police procedural involving Charlize Theron, involving so many other really good actors who just sort of seem to wander in and out of a movie that doesn't know where its root is.
I think, though, if you're hanging on, it doesn't provide anything brand new and fresh. We have to stop at Shakespeare and say a lot of themes have been repeated ever since then. And this shows us a lot about, you know, a guy like Tommy Lee Jones's character who's kind of lost himself since he's been out of the Army and is dying to get back into the game as an MP guy, and how much he's out of touch. And the relationship with Susan Sarandon, who's so good here as opposed to in Mr. Woodcock, who gives such a good performance as this mother.
Right, she has a very small role.
I think all of this is so well done, and I think this is a near great film, and the performances, you have to admit the performances are amazing here.
I think there are two great performances. I think they're wasted in a film that doesn't say very much about anything very interesting or very new.
I think it has a lot to say. We got to move on. Across the Universe, I have a feeling, is also going to polarize some people, including moviegoers and critics, and especially Beatles fans. Now, some, like me, will appreciate Julie Taymor's whimsical, daring, and outrageous effort to create a coming-of-age story told almost entirely through Beatles classics. Others will cringe, perhaps, at the overly earnest, dramatic set pieces. Now, some of the numbers are gorgeous and funny and moving, some are silly, and some do fall flat. Evan Rachel Wood plays Lucy, an American girl who takes up with an English lad named Jude, and yes, everybody here has a name from a Beatles song.
I have never known the like of this. I've been alone and I have these things and kept out of sight, but other girls were never quite like this. Falling, yes I am falling, and she keeps calling me back again.
Lucy and Jude are among a group of free-spirited hippies living in New York City in the 60s, just as revolution is breaking out all over. Their idyllic summers of love are shattered when one of them is drafted.
I want you, I want you so bad, it's driving me mad, it's driving me mad.
This movie reminded me of the 1979 adaptation of Hair, though it's not as cohesive or as powerful as Milos Forman's film, and Across the Universe would probably work better as a Cirque du Soleil extravaganza or a Broadway play, but as a film it's flawed, but sometimes gorgeous and uplifting, right?
Get back, Roeper. I gotta tell you, I kind of thought it was unreleasable.
Really?
Yeah. I sat there 5 seconds into it and went, you gotta be kidding me.
You hard-hearted, cold-blooded cynic.
You're absolutely right. Yeah. Because it made me want to go out immediately, and luckily it was on cable just the other day, watch the Bee Gees' Peter Frampton, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Man.
It's the same movie!
Are you serious?
Oh, come
really?
on. They're the same exact movie. Although I have to say, Sgt. Pepper is better because at least it has Steve Martin. This one has Bono doing Robin Williams doing Bono, followed by an amazingly awful performance of my least favorite Beatles song, For the Benefit of Mr. Kite, done by Eddie Izzard, in what is a sequence that is sure to guarantee people walking, if not running out of the theaters.
Yeah, that was bad, I have to admit, but I thought some of the other songs were beautifully done.
Name one.
And you know,
no, you can't name one. You can't name one right here, right now.
Of course I can. There are 20 Beatles songs done beautifully here. I mean, including Hey Jude, by this attractive, talented young cast. I'm sorry you don't like the Beatles.
Oh, wait a minute. I so love the Beatles, which is why I'm sitting here right now planting my flag saying Across the Universe is the worst butchering of any Beatles since William Shatner performed Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds.
I love that version by William Shatner. Okay. Coming up next, a bloodier, sexier, better version of one of the best films of the year in our video segment. But first, here's a look at what's coming up on next week's show.
Your phone received pictures.
I know I won't get this one opportunity, and you can bet your life I'm not going to spoil it.
Play football before?
No, sir.
All right, looking at movies new on DVD, I liked We Are Marshall and Gracie. I did not like The Condemned, and I really liked Death Proof from Quentin Tarantino, and I especially like the expanded version for DVD. Great stuff.
It's so weird, though, that they split Grindhouse into 2 DVDs, Planet Terror from Robert Rodriguez coming out later. I think that's a little weird. But speaking of double features and auteurs, my video picks offer 3 movies for the price of 2.
All right.
Criterion Collection last week released Jim Jarmusch's first well-known movie, the deadpan comic odyssey Stranger Than Paradise, and it comes with its very first movie, 1980's Permanent Vacation, which even Jim Jarmusch's biggest fans will find dull, but only because nothing at all happens. Strangers is the masterpiece, of course, thanks to brilliant performances by John Lurie, Richard Edson, and Esther Berlin.
Just lost almost all our money.
At dog races?
Night on Earth is also out, and it's the star-studded Jarmusch affair about taxi drivers and their fares. It stars Winona Ryder, Jenna Rollins, and in one hysterical sequence, Roberto Benigni as a cabbie who thinks he has killed a priest.
All right, so Stranger Than Paradise and Night on Earth available now. Death Proof will be in stores on Tuesday, and we'll be back to recap this week's show right after this.
Closed captioning for Ebert and Roeper is sponsored by...
Man has evolved to the point where he no longer needs to stand in line for tickets. The MovieTickets.card, available only at MovieTickets.com.
Guests of Ebert and Roeper stay at the Peninsula Chicago, the city's most exciting luxury hotel, located in the heart of Chicago's Magnificent Mile.
All right, recapping the movies on this week's show. I found something to like in The Brave One, The Hottest State, In the Valley of Elah, and Across the Universe. Robert did not. He hated all of them to various degrees. However, we both got together in love to hate Mr. Woodcock. I'm sorry you had such a lousy time at the movies this week, my
I have
friend.
a great time being with you but I do not understand, and I will never understand Across the Universe and your affection for that movie.
We'll speak more slowly next time so you can understand some of it.
That might help.
And that's it for this week. Until next week, the balcony is closed.
Desmond, the doctor will see you now.
It's Fruit Crepe Fever. Sweet cream cheese, luscious fruit, and delectable crepes. Only at IHOP. Come hungry, leave happy.
Supernatural Season 2, now on DVD. Hope you boys are ready. Supernatural, the complete second season, now on DVD.
Net Zero gives you the fastest surfing available over dial-up and virus protection, starting at $9.95. Try it risk-free for 30 days with our money-back guarantee.
More people are starting their day with Plum Smart from Sunsweet.
I'm starting.
Plum Smart has fiber and nutrients to help keep your digestive system healthy and in balance. Start smart with Plum Smart.